gets close to your mouth like that, without putting your hands actually on the microphone, and talk loud, louder than I'm perhaps talking. But start off, sister, with what your experience was and what date was it, as best you can remember. Was it the same day as the press conference?
The day before.
The day before the press conference? Okay.
So what was it? What day was that?
Had to be Wednesday.
Okay.
Whatever that Wednesday was.
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. Assalamualaikum. This is Sister Latanya from Phoenix, wanting to share her experience about the baby mothership. The day before the press conference, at approximately 6:45 a.m., I walked out my house, my daughter and I, to take her to school. On my way back home, coming down my street, which is a dirt road, I pulled into my driveway. And as I got out of the car, walking towards my door, I looked up and I saw this, it was a ship. When I saw it, my heart dropped, and all I could say was, oh my God. So I proceeded to walk fast. And I need to back up and say the distance that I saw. If you can imagine my front yard, it's approximately maybe a third of an acre out front. So you have an open space, and I live in a rural area, so the skies are very clear. So approximately looking from where I was, maybe 75 feet high, I saw the mothership. So as I saw it, one of the small planes,
About 75 feet, right?
about 75 feet up, no distance at all. I mean, no distance at all. So as I see this, I'm saying, oh my God, I'm saying, I need somebody to bear me witness. I need somebody to bear me witness. So I'm walking to my door, and I'm shaking with the keys in my hand trying to get in. Okay, as I get in, I walk into my kitchen, and towards the left, Sister Masala lives. So I looked at the phone first, and I said, I'll call. And I said, no, I need somebody to bear me witness. I need somebody to bear me witness. So I proceeded to walk down to Masala's door, and I knocked on the door, being very, very calm. And I said, I was trying, and I'm trying to be real serious about this here. But the experience is just so overwhelming. You have to see it out there. You have to see it. You want to see what I saw?
You were driving up this way?
No, I was coming. I was coming.
From south to north?
Yeah, I was coming south, and then I was going west. Okay. And then after I get west, I'm going back south. So I'm coming this way.
That's north.
Yeah, I'm going north. I'm sorry. I'm going this way.
Where did you direction did you see it? That way?
Yeah, it was right there. Right there. When I say right there, it's almost like I could say right there at this plant. It was right there. It was just so clear. So clear. So clear. So I proceeded to knock, and it's just so overwhelming. It is just so overwhelming. So I knock on the door. She said yes. I said, it's me, Sister Latanya. So I'm trying to be very calm. So she's getting, she said, just a second. So she opens the door, and before she could fully open the door, I had pushed her, and I'm running through her apartment saying, come look over here at the window. But as I'm saying the window, I'm going towards the door. And I get to the door, and I'm trying to open it. I'm having problems opening it because I'm very nervous, and I want someone to see. And I kept saying in the back of my mind, I got to have someone to bear me witness. I need somebody to bear me witness. So we open the front door, and then she has a screen door, and it's locked, and I'm fighting with this screen door, and I probably said something. And then as I finally get the screen door open, we go outside, and I'm facing the north. And I said, what is this? In my backyard, by this point, it has hoovered over my house, and it's facing my backyard towards the north, okay? And you have to see the distance of my house. The distance of my house is approximately 4,600 feet. Keep in mind, I saw it at the front of the house at first. And I had enough time to run through my house, wake up this sister, go out one door, then the screen door to get to the back. And it had just finished hoovering, and now it's in my backyard. And I asked the sister, what is this? What is this? And the sister said what she said, and I just started jumping for joy and just I started acting really out. I did. I was just so happy. I was so happy. I was doing all these fists. I was just like, all praises due. I was just totally just excited, just totally excited. And we were just out there like, look at this, look. And then as we started studying it, I looked at my clock and I said, oh, it's 7 o'clock. As we started studying this here, it was like an oval shape with a dome on top, and right around the middle, it was like a band around the middle. And it was more like the color of the sky, but more of a blue, a powder blue, because it stood out away from the sky in its color. And it had lights underneath the bottom of it, and it was just blinking, real pretty. Then when I started looking at the setup of the sky, yeah, the lights were just blinking, just real pretty. You know, not a lot of different colors. It was blinking so in accord. It was just so pretty, so pretty. So as I started looking at yeah, it was set up like it was all like precise and accurate. From when I saw it was like maybe the right, the middle, the left, the right, the middle, the left, maybe the left, the right, the middle. But it was just so in sequence of what it was doing. Then I looked over towards my right, maybe about 15 feet away, and I said, "Oh, look at this here. This is a red." First I said it's a star. I said, "This is not no star." I said, "Look at this. This is a red." And I couldn't explain what it was, but I told her to look at it. I said, "Look at this." I said, "They're all working together. Look at it. It's all working together." And then I looked over towards my left, and I seen this plane coming. And I said, "Look at them, look at them, look at them. They just want to find out what's going on. Look at them. They want to find out what's going on." To me, it was like just a plane where someone wanted to make some inquiries about something. No, it was moving very fast. No, not a jet. It was moving like it had to see it real fast. Like it was in a hurry to see something, you know, and that's the way it was going, very rapidly, but it was big enough, you know, and it was clear enough for me to see the direction that it was going in. And by this time, the plane, it was just so much to it. As we're looking at this here ship, the ship started moving, right? It started moving. And then to show how low it was, it moved at some point behind the trees, you know. And as it was moving, Sister Matalaya moving right along with it. And then there's another empty spot where you can see, you know, between the trees, and then there's some emptiness, and then there's some trees on the other. So we walked and we see it again. At this point, it's like it's right over the messenger house. You know, I said at that point in my mind, well, it was way over the messenger's house. The minister house. And I keep calling him the messenger's house. Okay, he understands for sure. Yes, sir. That's the way I look at him, for sure. For sure. For sure. No, they were north. They were north. Plane? No, the plane, it wasn't moving slow. Did you think it was? I didn't think it was moving slow to the point where, at some point it just stood for a long period of time, and then over the minister house it stood. But as this here other plane came, it just sort of went that way. It just sort of faded, not so much faded out, but it was like it was there and then it was gone. It was there. And I know I could go through this here again and put in some other spots, but it's like when I try so hard not to think about it. Let me say this here. I try so, because I'm having, maybe not problems, I'm trying to process what I saw, and I know what I saw, you know, and every time it like comes to my mind, it's just overwhelming. Yeah. It's just overwhelming. You know, when I start having to relive it again, it actually frightens me.
Could you hold on just a second? Wait, sister, what did you see?
In the name of Allah, the Beneficent and Merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I don't know what time it was, but I was laying on my couch, and I was asleep, and all of a sudden, Latanya's face appeared. And when I saw her face, her mouth was hanging open, her eyes were bucked, and she looked like she was scared. And the more I studied her face, and then I thought maybe she was trying to be funny, so I said, what you want? So then she kept looking like that, and then I could tell she was trying to tell me something. So I'm laying there and I'm asking her, and I could hear it coming out of my mouth, and I could feel my lips moving, and I'm asking her, what's wrong? Latanya, what's wrong? Latanya, by this time I hear a knock on the door, and so I said, I was irritated because I wanted to hear what she had to say. So I said, who is it? So she said, it's Sister Latanya. So I got up, I said, just a minute. So I got up and I opened the door. When I went to the door, she pushed me out the way, and she told me, she said, Sister Martha, come here, I want to show you something. And she was calling the back door the window, but she was going out the back door. When we got out the back door, I followed her out the door. When we got out there, I looked to my right, and up in the sky, and not even as tall as the trees, I saw this. When I first saw it, it looked like a huge light bulb lit up, and the top of it had a dome shape, and then It wasn't really round, more oval but short, and it was had a wide round rim around it, and then there was some kind of film over it that looked like something protecting it or something like that. And I watched it for a long time, and like Latanya, I started clowning too and saying things. I was really thanking Allah for allowing me to see it, and I thanked Latanya for waking me up so that I could see it. After being there for about 4 minutes, I went in the house to get dressed because I just went out there. I wasn't dressed right for it, and it was cold. So I got dressed, and I made a quick phone call. I could only think of one sister's number, and that was Sister Roshan. And I just said, get up and look outside, and I slammed the phone down. I went back outside. It was still hovering over. By this time, and it was big. You could see it really clear because, like Sister said, there were no trees or anything at that point that would block it or to make you mistake it for anything else. At this point, Sister Latanya had stated that it looked like it was over the minister's house. And it did look like it was in that direction. As we watched it, I told Sister Latanya, because I could see it would get real bright, then it would get dim. I said that about 3 times. It got real bright, then it would get dim. It got real bright, and it would get dim. And then a little while later on, I remember Sister looking at her watch, and she said it's 7 o'clock. Was it 7 then? Or was it 7:10? 7:10. She said it was 7:10. By this time, she brought it to my attention the other lights that were blinking around it, because there were some other lights that were blinking around it. And she also brought it to my attention about the airplane that was coming. And a few minutes later, it started moving. Now, to me, it started moving. Right.
You saw it, didn't see it?
No, I was busy watching the baby plane, and the airplane was coming from the other direction. So she said, "Look at that plane," you know. So at this point, the plane was there. I saw it once she.
Saw the lights on it?
Yes, I saw that. I saw all of that. So by this time, it started moving. Now, to me, it started moving slow, and when it started moving, it seemed like it started getting dim. As it moved, it would get dim because it was like a big, huge light bulb with maybe 3 different shapes lit up. And because it had a dome top, and it was, like I said, it was kind of fat, and it had a rim around it. Then it also had a film around it, you know, like something protecting it or something. That's what I saw. As it passed, now, at this point, to me, it was still moving kind of slow. I know that as it passed the trees, just to say how low it was, when it passed the trees, the tree blocked our view, so we had to walk further down in her backyard to move with it. So by the time it passed the trees, we had it in full sight again. But by this time, it had gotten really, to me, it looked like it was thinning out, because then it just disappeared. To me, it's like it just really thinned out and disappeared. And I don't mean from a long ways off. You know, it didn't, you know how you can stand there and watch a plane take off, and the further the plane gets, the more out of view it gets. It wasn't like this. It wasn't far enough away for us not to see it anymore before it, to me, it just disappeared.
Did it make any sound at all?
I didn't hear anything. And it was there for a long time, and I kept getting the feeling that Allah wanted me, because I'm only speaking to myself right now, to be sure of what I saw. And I am. I know what I saw.
You all draw that?
Yeah, I can do it.
I could.
I did.
You did?
In one of my little journals, I had to write this out, and I drew it and everything. But you know what was so interesting about it? And then you're gonna have to talk to Sahara, because she saw it too, and I didn't know she had saw it. But it was so interesting because as I parked the car, and usually, you know, it's fresh air, so I know I'm not asleep. The look when I saw it, you know, because I probably was walking with my head down, or just walking straight. And then I looked up, and it was just so clear. And it takes a lot to frighten me, a whole lot to totally frighten me. But my heart skipped like a beat so bad, it just went like boom, boom. And all I could do was say, oh, my God. And I see my hands shaking because I was trying to open the door to get in. And all I kept saying, I need somebody to bear me witness to what I know I saw.
Would you be willing to try to believe this Sunday?
No.
And I'll tell you why in a moment that I raise that question. We'll come back to that in a minute. But Minister Joe just paid it. But I wouldn't try to... You know, may I say this? Because I want you to go back over some more detail about the look, and I want to see your drawing. In the name of Allah and His servant, Muhammad, may I say this? Actually, in the name of Allah and His Christ. And I thank them, really, sisters. And I had hoped to get to Georgia last night. And I'm not well, as I told you all, suffering from what I'm suffering from. And part of what I wanted to do was give the believers a witness of what made our ministers successful last Thursday. Because behind the door is where you could see it in another way. And what you saw was a man totally reliant on Allah and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. No fake, no jive, no pontificating, but a man prayerful, a man searching for God in a very powerful way. That's a short version of what I saw, of what's in my mind. Maybe I get a chance to say it somewhere, perhaps Georgia or wherever. Now, I think it's significant that you had this experience. I don't want to comment on what my opinion is because I don't know what God's purpose was or Allah's purpose was in showing you. I just know what I feel about it. But I don't think you should keep this to yourself. I think the believers should know it. One thing the believers throughout America will have to know in a deep way, that God is with the minister and with us. And the believers, because what we're facing, if it don't be for Allah, we're facing an adversary we can't defeat on our own. We don't have the brains, the material resources, nothing to defeat this man. See? And what the minister was up against was the biggest and baddest of the white people. You saw the kit, the ADL material? Okay. So I thought it was the same day. I misunderstood, sister, when I called long distance because I was trying to tell you all as best I could what was going on in terms of live CNN, C-SPAN, whatever, you know. But the fact that it was going to come on C-SPAN live, I wanted people at least to know that because I didn't know what they were going to do on C-SPAN because I hadn't heard, you know. We didn't know exactly. So I really think you ought to consider giving this witness to what Allah showed you, because what you looked at is the power of God, of the God that you and we believe in. So if the believers did not see this, and when the packages, you know, when it gets around, because AT and others are spreading it throughout in-house and out, you know, to other people, the media, whatever, certain black leadership, whatever, we need to know that the power with us is greater than the power with them. Or as the minister was often citing, he that is in us is greater than, you know, this that is with these other fellows. I forget the exact phraseology in the scriptures. So believers need to know this. Now, you said you had some more details. Do you have your can you get the drawing out? Maybe some details will come like that. Say that again. Yep, I saw that again.
The sister that I called, Sister Roshan, her husband, I spoke with her husband. Well, she mentioned it to her husband later on that day. And so she called me back, and he had said that he had seen it too, but what he saw was a blimp. He said when he first saw it, he was getting off work. And when he first saw it, it scared him. He said, damn, what is that? And he said, a baby plane. So he said it was low, so he said he drove around by it, and by this time he was over there by the 17. And he said when he got over there by it that he could tell that he thought it was a blimp.
What do you mean by it?
He said he drove alongside of it. And he said when he got on the side of it, that what he saw was a blimp. And so I described to him what I saw. And he said that he saw a bunch of lights and everything, but what he did, we described two different things. And so he was trying to convince me that I had seen a blimp, and I was trying to let him know that I didn't see a blimp and that I had never seen any blimps made like that before. And I talked with another...
Floating around your house like
That's
that?
right.
And then also interesting, we were ruling all, as we were looking at it, we were ruling all those possibilities out. Because I'm saying that's not a blimp, because it was still sort of dark at that time. I'm saying it's not a blimp. Why would a blimp be out? There's no writing. I seen this other red, I don't even know what you call it. It was just blinking. It was like so much protection was around it. That so much was going on that you really were only able to focus on the big plane, maybe something over here, and I was focusing over here where she saw, you know,
You
like...
say big, you mean...
No, if I were to measure the size of it... Oh, okay. I'll tell him on my way. I'm sorry.
Was it big like
No.
this? Like this, get the picture. Like this wall here. If I look over here, I can't really see that in over there.
No.
Are you saying it was that big?
No.
What do you
Like when I measure it, I was telling Amasa, I measure it with the size of a Yugo. Take a size of a Yugo and put it 75 feet high, and you see the whole shape of the Yugo. You see it all, you know. You see that whole side you're looking at, from one end to the other end, from top to bottom. You see the whole, you know, part of it. And that's what I measure it. Whenever I put it in my mind, the only thing that comes to my mind is a Yugo, the size of a Yugo about 75 feet high.
Before I leave the drawing in your backyard, you point me to the tree. Now I get a better sense.
Yes.
Take the picture.
there was one more thing. I had talked with Sister Debbie. I had called her that morning and was telling her, well, that afternoon, and I was telling her about it. So that night she called me back and she told me that her son, he was on his way to his bus stop. And when he saw it, he looked up in the sky and saw it, and it scared him, and he dropped his books and he started to run. And so, but then he said he just stopped and he started watching it. And the longer he watched it, he said he thought it was a blimp too, but he wasn't sure, but he thought it was a blimp.
Now, Sahara, tell me what you saw and when did you see it? Hold this wire part right here.
Okay. When I first saw it, I did think it was a blimp. It was moving like awfully slow towards the left side, going this way, towards the South Mountains. And then my friend, we had walked across the street. Me and my friend had walked across the street, and we were looking at it, and she asked me, Sahara, what do you see, a UFO? And I had just gave her a look like, just be quiet, and I kept looking at it. And then the more you look at it, the longer you see it wasn't a blimp. It was like more oval shaped. And from what I saw, you just saw one side of it. You didn't see the whole thing. And it was a pretty color. It was like the most pretty color you could see. It was like a pearl white that was like really shiny, and it just caught your attention. And from the bottom, you couldn't see anything under it or nothing above it. It was just flat on the bottom and just oval curved on the top. And then just moved like an inch, and you just stood there and watched it. And it wasn't flashing lights. It was like so bright, and the color was so pretty, you didn't look anywhere else besides what you saw. It didn't move. It wasn't a blimp.
No noise.
No noise at all.
Just standing still.
Yeah, and it was like high up in the air. It was like it was almost over you. And you saw it, and it was like the most prettiest thing you could see. And it wasn't a blimp. I had to admit, when I first saw it, I did think it was a blimp.
And you said it when your friend saw it also?
Yes. And but really, I didn't even get about it until I got home. She kept saying to her, what do you see, a UFO? What do you see, a UFO? And I didn't even think twice that Sahara, you know.
She said that, but she looking at it?
Yes. She looked at it, she said, what do you see, a UFO? What do you see, a UFO? And we just started laughing. I was like, just shut up, and I'm just going to watch it. And we just stood there for like a long time, just looked at it.
Maybe that kind of expression, I don't know what you say, but it's like she recognized that it was like what she had seen in the pictures in my quote-unquote UFO. And yet her brain wasn't fully absorbed.
Mine wasn't. I
wasn't
wasn't.
For confirmation.
I couldn't confirm. I wasn't on it that day to confirm anything. But it wasn't a blimp.
What do you think it was?
I think it was a baby blimp.
It looked like what she had seen, like it had this over like this, like that.
It doesn't look like that fictitious stuff you see on TV at all. It's so realistic that what you see on it makes what you see on TV totally rational. It's not even.
How has that experience affected your mind?
I know I gotta get back on it because I mean that threw me off with her saying, Sarah, what do you see, a UFO? And it didn't click. I was like, Sarah, you know, look, this could be the time, you know, you gotta go. And I didn't even. I would have missed the plane that day.
That's deep. Okay. Should have been a plane.
Yeah. Now, this is so interesting. I run a group with SMIs who are severely mentally ill. And being that I'm a certified substance abuse counselor, I work on these clients that abuse their medication and maybe drink alcohol or smoke a little marijuana, but mainly they abuse their prescription. And I've been counseling this group for approximately 2 years or more, so I'm pretty close with the group. And also, I realize that whenever I have major things going on in my life or questions I want to ask, when I run a group, when I'm discussing things with the client, I'm actually talking about myself and asking them how do they feel. Because, I don't know, they're pretty honest with their feelings and emotion, and people tend to, when they label people as SMI, severely mentally ill, they don't think these people have any intelligence, but yet they are very, very intelligent. It's just the society has outcast them, and I need to say that first. So this particular next day before the press conference, I ran a group, and we were in there talking. I said, well, let's...
After you saw it.
Right, after I saw what I saw. And I run the group about 9:45. So I said, well, today's topic, let's talk a little bit about feelings and emotions. So I started questioning what is grief, what is fear, what is, anger. We started just talking about very, very different emotions. So everybody was able to express themselves. So I'm trying to get in how I'm going to say what I want to say to them about seeing something. So I threw out the question. I said, how do you feel, or what happens when you actually see something and you know you saw it and you're trying to explain it to someone else? How would you explain that to someone else? So we went around talking about that because I want to know, and I'm asking y'all, here I am. I'm the counselor, but I'm asking these clients, because I'm in this situation. So they went around and talked, and this one particular guy, I won't say his name, this one particular guy, he said, yeah, I know. He said, because I saw something yesterday, and people just won't believe me.
You said yesterday, not the same day.
Huh? No, that's the next day. See, remember, I'm seeing this client the next day. We saw the event.
Not the same day.
No, the next day. Okay, okay. So I'm saying this, and he said, I saw something yesterday. I said, what you see yesterday? So he said, well, I got off my, I usually come to work at about 6:30, 6:45, and I got off the bus on 24 and Southern. And as I was going in the Circle K, he said, well, it was 5 other people, and I looked up in the sky, and I told this one lady, I said, look at this. And he said, the lady said, oh, that's pretty. And he said, I tried to tell the other people that was coming out, look at that. He said, they didn't say anything. So I said, well, what did you think it was? He said, I don't know. He said, it probably was a blimp. I said, do you actually think it was a blimp? He said, I've seen a lot of blimps. I said, well, why would a blimp be out that early in the morning? He said, that's a good question, but I don't know. I said, what else did it look like to you? He said, you know what it looked like to me, LaTanya? It looked like it was a big house lit up. I said, it did? He said, yeah, underneath it had a door. So he started describing it. I said, describe to me exactly what you saw. He said, it was an oval shape, and it looked like a house that was really lit up. And he said, and underneath it, it was a door where you could get in and out. And he said, there was a lot of lights around it. I said, well, what color? He said, it was real light. I said, well, you sure that was a blimp? He said, yeah, LaTanya, it was a blimp. I said, well, why was it looking like this? I said, blimps aren't lit up. There's no advertising on it. Just to let him know, I saw what you saw, and I can't say much to you because, you're not stable, and I know I saw it. So we talked about it, and I said, it's amazing how when you see something and you're trying to express it to other people and they don't believe it, so you settle your mind on the level that is comfortable what other people would say. For an example, you saw something different than a blimp, but you would settle for it being called the blimp, so you won't have to express it to other people, and that's where your comfort zone is. So that's easy for you to process. And I was talking to him like that, and then he said, yeah, because I've seen a whole lot of things. He said, but they would call me crazy. I said, I know, and then we just went on and, in that conversation. Oh, yeah, okay, and then we got to one aspect. We're still talking about what we saw, and I'm just trying to get some confirmation from this here group. So then I asked this here one client, I said, well, if you saw something, would you think it was a blimp? She said, no, it would be a UFO. I said, you think? She said, yeah, it would be a UFO. It wouldn't be a blimp, but I wouldn't tell nobody. And that was the majority. And then one of the other clients was talking. She said, no, I said, why do you think something like that would be hovering over? So this particular guy that was talking about that it looked like a house, he said, a thought came to my mind that maybe they were taking pictures. And so one of the other clients, she said, yeah, that came to my mind too. Like somebody was hoovering over and they were taking pictures. And I thought it was very, very interesting. So after I left the group and came home, I was telling Sister Asalaam about what this here client had said, and was just like confirming it all, just confirming. I just wanted to express that.
That's important. Let's say that it was one of the baby planes we've heard about from the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Not so much just you all and the few others that you know who saw it, but why would the people flying in it, because I know they're under orders, why would they be directed to be seen like that? What would be the purpose? And the day before the press conference. And what does that mean for believers in this city? Because, there's no way to take this and make this known all over the country. I mean, it's not that kind of a situation. Other people are having their experiences. But you live in Phoenix. Now, why would, and maybe some other believers saw something. I don't know what anybody else saw, but let's just say there's nobody else. Not so much you all, but why would anybody, any of the believers at all be allowed or be directed or be, I would say, that the pilots in that plane would be directed to come that close? Because it could have been 200 feet up. Why is that close? I mean, what was that about? It was for you to experience something, obviously. It was directed and flown by someone of intelligence, not non-intelligence. And what was it? And people don't do anything without a reason or a motive. Okay? Motive, intention. What was it? And then it serves an object or an objective. The intent or motive is within the objective is the goal to which the one is moving. Okay? What was it to be impressed on your mind? That's why I say you have to share it with the believers, because you didn't have that experience just to have that experience for yourself. Now, that wasn't like a dream or a vision. Other believers have had dreams and visions and all like that. Some have not, some have. What was that for? And I'm saying this for you to think about. Do you have any responsibility beyond just sharing it with one another? Or do you have a responsibility to share it with the believers? And if so, if that is part of the motivation of the ones flying the plane, directed by someone else, I would say Allah, then is Allah giving the believers a message? And what is the message? And what is the message you're to carry?
I just wanted to comment. After I had talked with Brother Harry, and he had said that it was a blimp, and he was trying to convince me that I had seen a blimp. When I got off the phone, I had prayed, and I had asked Allah, I said, Allah, I know you wouldn't have me calling different people and telling them that, because that lifts up the spirit, and it lift up a lot of curiosity, and it kind of like woke the different brothers and sisters that I talked with, it kind of like woke them up or reassured them. And I said, I know you wouldn't let me, tell people that if that's not what I really saw. And I know that after I had prayed and talked with the God, I know I just felt really comfortable and relaxed. And I know that I saw what I saw.
Harry, you want to say something?
Yeah, I agree with what you said, being that it was, since Arizona is said to be, the land we're all supposed to be at, it was supposed to wake us up and let us know we got to get back on our guard. Because for me not to realize, that's what I saw right offhand. It's showing me to myself that I'm slipping up. I haven't been where I'm supposed to be, and it's showing other people who saw it, who still confirm that it is a blimp, that you got to wake up, that we saw the baby plane now, but soon to come, the mothership is coming. And you got to be there prepared to be at the mothership, or you're going to miss out.
I think the believers need to know this. Because I'm telling you, let me say this to you, that
I know they need to be told. I know they need to be told. I think my only concern or what's been on my mind is, it's like I know what I saw. I don't feel like I want people to believe me, but if they don't, that's okay too. Yeah, I know I have people, but I just don't want any negativity or any defensiveness. And I know this is hard for people to believe, and I know that, but I'm more the type of person that, like I said, it takes a lot to get a reaction out of me. And yeah, and I'm the type, I'm very introverted, and I question the same questions that you asked. I know Allah had this happen for a reason and a purpose, but I guess the fear within me is like, well, now that I've seen this here, this opens up a whole new realm of thought processing for me, because he has done this. So in allowing us to see this and witness this, there is something else that's definitely going to start happening, or is already in the making, but is not manifested at this. And sometimes when we're negligent of our duties, speaking for ourselves, Allah will push you out there by a circumstance or a situation. And what has happened, he has pushed me out there. And although I'm out there, I'm still being rebellious and trying not to get out there where I don't have a choice, or I don't have, it's like when you're standing for principle and truth, although your emotions may get in the way. If you're true to yourself and you're going inward, you're going to do what's right regardless. Yeah.
Realize I was alive. Mm-hmm. He had to get out there before the world and say it. Look when he had the vision. Nobody had that experience but him.
Right, and you're trying to convince.
And this was a vision. It wasn't in the backyard and in the front of the house. Hey, he had to do it. And the study guides talk about not running from things like this. Now, the messenger said that the Noah's Ark, he said it in this city in 1967 November, whatever amount of years that is ago. He said that ark was a sign of the mothership. And as that ark saved people in that day, it was a sign of a ship not on sea but in the sky, saving a people in the last day. And it's going to be used. It's going to be used to get people out of here. I just say it straight up. I once asked him about, I think it's 1 Timothy 4 and 7, I think that's where it is, about the Lord descending from heaven with a shout and taking the people, whatnot. That's in there. I asked him straight up, was that referring to the mother plane, et cetera, et cetera? He confirmed it. See? Now, the minister told me that Sidney Omar, I heard the name, but I've never read his writing, horoscope man or whatever, some kind of seer of some sort, wrote in a book last year that the minister would come through a tremendous crisis, in his life in January. of this year, and it happened. I'm telling you, he said that what he experienced was a great trial on him, personally. A great trial on him. And no, he said, I am being tried by this. He had to go out before the world and deal. That was no easy matter. Now, and you think about, if you could see, I have clippings coming, but if you could see the stuff that's in papers about it, the New York Daily News had him front page. He filled up the whole paper. They made him have 2 pages. He's on the front. I mean, he's all over the place. Hey, I mean, you only have to go to the mosque and see a handful of people. Not even 100 people. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, think about it. But if you did it, you'd be further advanced. Now, and you would help a lot of other people. And if it brings about division, so what? This is the time of separation anyway, as you heard Brother say that straight up the other day on it in the Holy Quran. In fact, that subject was the first subject Elijah Muhammad taught, I was told, when he got out of prison, 1946, chapter 64 in the Quran. Now, and it's a sign of Allah being in power, so I think you all were very blessed to have that tremendous physical sign of the God's power. That will always stand you in good stead. Solomon, now, Papa, the rest of the Sidney Omar statement the minister told me, he said that in October it would be another tremendous prayer in his life. And Sidney Omar, he told me, said it would be a miracle if the minister gets through this year. Comes through this year with his life. Now, you read about the ADL? You can see they're a criminal. And they're not above, and they have a lot of money at their disposal. So you're talking about people who will stop at nothing. And then as page 33 or 4 of America, where the messenger said, I'm paraphrasing and condensing, you can be as good as you want to be and as good as gold, so to speak. There'll always be somebody against you. Now the scripture says also, blessed is the man and or woman to whom the Lord does not reckon certain of their acts as sins, or it says in some translations covers them, or doesn't even record them, or does not even impute to them that. So, I mean, if you got lesser people that Allah may have forgiven, well, if you was top of the line, God himself, you'd have people criticizing and downing and what, you're going to have that. See? And even in this mosque, this little mosque, and all throughout the country, you're going to have division. And the numbers are going to swell this year. Our numbers are going to swell. Can you imagine that FOI meeting following the brothers' big meeting in New York City? They had 1,500 at the FOI class. In other words, just like that, all of a sudden, the laborers are not able to handle the great numbers. The numbers are humongous. They're ready to come. That was a sign. The minister makes the call, people stand up. Now, where's the staffing to handle all these people? Huh? Come on, tell me. And people be struggling and hollering about position. And the people are out here, oceans of people. So there's a lot in all of this. Yes, ma'am.
I just remembered that after we had seen it, because I had brought it to Sister Latanya's attention, I had forgot all about it. Like an hour later, I had forgot all about it. I hadn't called. The only person I had called that morning was Sister Roshan. And I had started doing a lot of running around, and I think the little boy that I keep, he came over. So I had forgot all about it until around 3 o'clock. I was sitting at my sewing machine, and the thought came in my head, Amasa, you're supposed to share that. And I said, oh! And then I got on the phone and started calling people. But you had forgot too, right?
Yeah, all day long. And it didn't come back until you called me at work that day. And said, and we were talking down the thing.
Yes, Sister Edith, I called her long distance talking about the CNN. I heard it spread the word around. And she told me that, and I called you right. I want to know right now.
It was about 3 o'clock. And I said, oh, yeah, I did. You know, it's like, my day just went so bad that day. It was just so much going on. I didn't have time to even think about it, you know, until you brought it to my attention. And then I was expressing, yes, I did see it. And I started rambling on, you know, trying to say, you should have been there to tell you. I saw what I saw, and I ended up saying, I saw it. And you said, Sister, I don't doubt. But I felt myself being defensive, like, I saw it, I saw it. Just believe I saw it there. You know, you said, Sister, I don't doubt you. I don't doubt you saw it. You know, like, well, you know, what am I feeling? It's like, I wanted the whole world to know I saw this, and I wish I could have saw it, but y'all didn't. But I saw it. I saw it. I watched it from like 6:47.
He said it's going to be,
from about 6:47 to 7:15, 16. Because I don't know why I kept looking at my watch. I kept talking to it. I was communicating with it. I mean, I was just like,
did you say something about asking them to go to California?
Well, yeah, it was one point. And then I say something else to it. But as the plane would come, I said, look at it, look at this plane coming. It just want to know what it is. And then as it started fading out, I said, you go over to California now. You go over there and you get these wicked ones. You bring us all the righteous people. And it just started going, but I felt myself like talking in different, it's like it was saying something to me, and verbally I was saying it, but I was saying it out loud enough for Marshall and I to discuss it as it was coming out of my mouth. I mean, it was just, it was awesome.
This is a preconditioning. It's preconditioning. The messenger said these planes will be seen all over all of the cities of America. Think on it, 8.5 years ago when Brother and I were flying after he had the experience down in Mexico, and he comes over here and he tells us, we're on our way to New York City. And we learned that after we get there, about the 60 planes flying northwest, northeast, in Tucson, where there's a cloud cover, which means the planes were seen under, and it was not American planes, and that's been documented beyond the shadow of a doubt. So I just wanted, now, is there any other detail before I cut the tape off?
But Mark, what you just said, that you could need to share that was a sign right there. Because you were speaking verbally, and you and Martha receptive.
We were just discussing it, and I was just talking. And then the Marshall made a statement that same day. Because everything was just so hectic that day. And I went in the kitchen and started cooking. All of a sudden, I started staring. And I had to go back and relive it. And I felt myself just swelling up with a lot of tears and emotion. And by that time, a Marshall came out. And she said, I was wondering if we saw the same thing. I said, I was just thinking about, what did you see? Because we hadn't even got a chance to even discuss it after that. And then we just went into our conversation of what we saw. And she said, Latonya, if you could have seen your face. She said, if you could have seen your face when you was trying to express yourself. And I couldn't talk. I couldn't talk to her. All I could do was just bring her. All I could do was bring her. First I said, I'm not going to look out the window, but I was going to the door. But after that, wouldn't nothing else come out. I couldn't express anything.
I must have felt or saw you because before you knocked on the door, I was sleeping, I saw your face and you were like,
I know.
What's wrong?
I know my face is shot because I was just outdone. I was outdone.
Well, I guess we can close this tape off.
I was thankful for a while. I was so happy. I was so happy. Very happy. Not afraid at all. Just happy. Total bliss, It's like, whoa, the ship is here. We were talking and clowning and,
I got dressed, I can't wait to go.
I said, I'm going. I said, I'm going. He said, I'm going too. I said, I'm going. It's out here for us. We were just making a big commotion about it because we were so happy and we didn't know how to say anything except to start reacting on our happiness and talking and sharing and saying how we want to get up there, we want to be there. It was just awesome.
And see, by telling the believers, you help the precondition because other people are going to see this. See? This is the 19th year to the month since Alaikuum Muhammad left. The end of this month marks 19 years. That's right.
It's coming for us. I found it's coming for us. I think it's coming for the ministry. Since generally all the comments are going on. It's coming to take him, to take the ministry.
It's going to take him first, but I'm telling you what Alaikuum Muhammad said. It's also going to take believers out of you. Did you hear what I just said? So you can't just say, well, I'll push it off on him. You know that's not. We know that's going to happen. But all of us have that rendezvous, or that they have to deal with this. And that's heavy. Remember, he was in a vision. And when he was, the pilot, at one point when they were leaving, he was thinking it. He wanted to see the plane, and the pilot made that little move where he could see it. And this city in the sky, that's what they said they saw back in the 30s, a city in the sky. A city. That's deep. And that's just a small one.
Saying she saw it that night. I'm like, well, I didn't see it when I dropped her off. And I didn't see it as I was driving because I'm going down 40th Street. So it was just, I would have saw it. And then as I turned to go down the dirt road going west, I didn't see anything until I got to my house. So it's like she saw it, but in my route, I don't know she done saw something because I'm on my way back home to take care of the children. So I don't know she's seen what she saw. So by the time I get home, he done seen, this ship in front of me. And I just wasn't ready for that, Who would be ready? But I just...
Now, see, if you decide to go Sunday, which you're obligated, and you share it, there may be 1 or 2 people or 5 people that may even experience some sort of jealousy.
And I think
But you have to ignore that because the majority are not going to experience that. See? And remember this one point, you know. People are silly. Well, so-and-so had an experience. You think you're better than me? Oh, please. Whoever was in that plane, was it intelligent or... Now, the point that I think I was really going to turn the tape over. Well, you have to ignore that. You have to ignore. People, Allah has all kinds of ways of educating us, you know. And remember, the minister made it very clear. It's not the first time that was said, but he made it clear. Allah brings about all kinds of circumstances to bring up out of us, not just the good, but also the bad. And the bad is brought to our attention, either to ourselves or through someone else. Why? To get rid of it, that's all. What other purpose does it have, would God have in showing us our weakness or something about us that's no good, except just to get rid of it? And the good is to enhance it. Never forget, that's the reason. Allah don't say, you niggas is no good, and I'm going to make it worse on you by showing you that other stuff the devil did to you all that you don't know. And I'm going to impress on you how great I am by showing you all how little you all are. Here, take that, take that. It's not that silly. And the converse is true. You said that Allah didn't come here to just say I'm on top, just to brag or nothing. I think supreme being's above that. He said he's on top, and he came to put us on top. He has that right in the flag of Islam and other writings and other things that he has said over the years. So that's my view, that you have an obligation, and you need to think about that. And you need to call Minister Joel and tell him the experience. And you know, seriously, call him up, tell him what's the experience. And I think then, you know, my view is he should be willing to allow you all to share that with everybody, because that's meant for, in my view, it's meant for all the believers first. Because you're not in a position to go to Arizona Republic and tell them this. See my point? KTAR, KFYI, you can't say that. It's not going to happen. Forget it. You know what I mean? But you have an obligation to share it with the believers. I think it was meant to the believers. You got that on a Wednesday. The minister does what he does on a Thursday. I think the events are connected.
Remember what you saw when you look at the final call, all the brothers in that dorm light on you?
The new final call. The new final call that had came out since Asalaam had given me a few of the final calls I'm going to pay for. But I need to say that I forgot about it, okay? I'm sorry about that. As I went in the room with the final calls, I sat in my chair, and I was just so glad to see the front page of the final call. But really what stuck out most in my mind was when I opened the final call, and I saw all the brothers looked like they were in a dome, and all I could do was start crying, because I'm saying, this is what I saw. This is what I saw. The shape of the shape of the black men in this here dome was what I saw. And my mind started turning, and I was, questioning and talking to Allah as to, was this why you allowed me to see this here? Is this how we're going to be getting up out of here? Is this what the position or the situation is going to be? And I was just so thankful, but I felt myself swelling up and just continuously to cry from joy, because it was like a part of what I was feeling had been manifested, but just the whole shape of that dome in this here final call. Take a look at it, and it just brought to my mind, the multitudes of the people getting up out of here.
Now, let's think about it now. Think about all the squabbling and whatnot. All that's going to have to end. Because God will punish those of us who ignorantly impede the rise of our people. Okay, anything else you want to say to close this off?
It's not like we got to open our eyes. That was the first sign. That might be the last sign.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get back. Myself, personally, I got to get back on my guard. Before I can tell anybody, I got to get back on my own guard.
Okay. But remember, the minister said this of himself, and this is true. He was given two scriptures to read out of the messenger's house, Surah 73 and 74. Arise and warn. Thy garments do purify. But see, don't wait until you're perfectly clean and pure to warn. If you wait on that, nobody will get saved. See? Okay. Assalamu alaikum.